Hello and welcome to Sharing the Light, and I'm Reverend Robert Griffin. Sharing the Light is an online ministry of the Sunshine Cathedral, a metropolitan community church located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And our subject today, Reverend Durrell Watkins, who is the senior pastor of the Sunshine Cathedral, will be speaking to us on how do we know there is a God. So let's dive right into our discussion today by asking Pastor Durrell, how do we know there is a God?
Well, that is a difficult question because some people are just very certain. They just know that there is a God, and they get almost angry about knowing, which sort of suggests that maybe they have some doubts, and how they deal with their doubts is by denying their doubts. And similarly, there are some people who know that there's no God, and they seem very angry about it. I'm always amazed at people who don't believe in God and who seem so angry at the God they don't believe in. And so knowing is a strange way to talk about God, I think. I like to think of God in terms of exploration, in terms of searching. I like to say that God is the search for God. Because whenever you say, this is God, I've got it figured out, this is God, this is what God looks like, this is what God acts like, this is where God is, this is all. Once you try to trap God like that, the Bible has a word for that, and it's called idolatry. Anytime you have an image that can contain your understanding of God, well, that is a graven image. And so I think the life of faith isn't about knowing God or believing in God. I think the life of faith is about identifying all of these idols we have in our lives and breaking them one at a time. And so this experience that we call God, other people call it something else. But what this experience that we call God gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time we destroy one more idol that was in the way. If by God we mean this sky God, just with throwing thunderbolts and living on a cloud, that sort of thing, well, that God is always going to seem very remote and not very real. And so we get very disappointed with this God who lives upstairs somewhere, and who seems to be most available when we make mistakes. There to sort of as this peeping Tom looking through the window to catch us in something or punish us, less available when we need help. So that God is going to be disappointing. But there are other ways to understand God. Paul Tillich, systematic theologian, Protestant theologian, referred to God as the ground of being. And that's one of my favorite images for what we're calling God. The ground of being. Jesus is quoted as saying that God is spirit. And the Greek word used in that text also means wind or breath. The Greek word pneuma, same as you see the root in the word pneumonia, And so this sort of breath of life. Well, that's sort of a wonderful way to understand God. Paul quoted a Greek pagan poet saying, well, Luke is quoting Paul, quoting the poet, and the poet is Epimenides, saying, it's in God that we live and move and have our being. So there's this image, again, of almost this air that we breathe, and we're in it, and part of it. And the writer of the New Testament book of 1 John said, God is love. And so this love is the creative force of life. Love is our highest aspirations, the best part of ourselves. And so there's that understanding of God. So there's the ground of being. There's the spirit of life. There is that in which we live and move and have our being that connects us all to everything. And there is the power of love. And so we know, or we believe, or we've experienced one of those things. We've experienced love. We've experienced interconnectedness. We've experienced profound, indomitable hope, or a moment of unexplainable joy, or a profound inner peace. We've had these experiences. And a lot of people, maybe mystics, maybe theologians, have chosen a word for that, labeled it God. If people don't like that word, if that word is a stumbling block, if that word is one more idol that needs to be crushed, well, then I'm not that invested in the word. I'm comfortable with the word God. I use God. If someone else isn't, it's not about the word. It's about the relationship. It's about the experience. It's about the reality.
So let me ask, how is that then good news?
I'm going to drink from my idol.
How is that then good news for the GOBT community, the GOBT people?
Well, that if we're talking about the mystery of life, if we're talking about interconnectedness, if we're talking about right relationship, if we're talking about love, if that's what God symbolizes, then there's no being that isn't part of that. That energy of life is all life. No one is excluded for any reason. Couldn't be. The air doesn't exclude us. The gravity doesn't exclude us. Light doesn't exclude us. It's part of our experience. It's part of who we are. There are molecules from the Big Bang in our bodies. There's stardust in our bodies. There's water in our bodies. I mean, we aren't excluded from anything. We're part of everything. When people tell me they don't believe in God, I sometimes ask them, what God don't you believe in? Because it could be that I don't believe in that same God.
Right.
The punishing God, the homophobic God, the racist God, the sexist God that prefers men to women in leadership. That there may be images of God that I find as distasteful as that person. So I may not believe in that God either. But I don't see that as being separate from the mystery of life that God represents. That just means that's one more idol we've destroyed on our search for a bigger and fuller experience of the divine. And so I think that if you can believe in the allness of life and can see yourself as part of it, and how could you not? Well, then that means that whatever you consider divine, and you can reclaim the word God if that's important to you, or you can toss it out and find another word. I can't imagine that God cares what you call. I don't care what you call me. People call me Reverend and Pastor and first name and Mr. Watkins and all these different things. It's all me. I can't imagine that it's about the name. And in fact, if we become too attached to the name, that becomes one more idol almost. And so the good news for gay and lesbian people is that whatever is divine is all-inclusive. That whatever is divine is about love. And so when we experience and express love in relationship, love for ourselves, love for our environment, love for our community, we are experiencing and expressing what people mean when they say God. And so we can't be separated from God. Paul got it absolutely right. Or Epimenides got it absolutely right. And Paul noticed that. It is in God. It is in something. It is in divine love. It is in ultimate reality. It is in infinite interconnectedness that we live and move and have our being. There's no way to be lost from that, separated from that, cut off from that. There is a way to not be fully awake to that. And so that's where spirituality and community and spiritual study and religion and scriptures and sutras and all those things help us wake up to the reality of divine love that is part of us and in which we live and move and have our being.
And so it's all a process in life.
Process theologians would say that God is the process of life. And in our process of living, it is expressing in, through, and as us. We can't be separated from it. The rules are more about human prejudices, needs, fears, concerns, ignorance. The experience, the reality that we're calling God is all-inclusive. It leaves no one out. And that's good news for gay and lesbian people and for all people.
Great. Well, thank you. And I want to thank you today for joining us. And if you have any questions, please visit us on our website at www.sunshinecathedral.org or write to me with your comments and your questions at robert@sunshinecathedral.org. And now for our final word from Pastor Watkins.
Sunshine Cathedral is a progressive and positive and practical church. We welcome all people, and we welcome you in lots of ways, whether you're reading our publications or worshiping with us on site or being with us online or emailing us and getting a response. We're here for you, and we welcome you to be part of our growing and global and inclusive community. If you would like to visit our website, explore it, find out how you can be more involved, how you can donate, how you can get prayer requests, we welcome you. Or if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, then at 1480 Southwest 9th Avenue, join us on Sunday mornings 9 and 10:30. We wish you blessings on your journey.
And thank you for joining us here on Sharing the Light.